Welcome to the Internet Studio at Cancer Lines 2019. Today we have two distinguished guests. First, let me introduce Stephen, who is the Chief Digital Marketing Officer at L'Oreal, and also Kiki, who is the General Manager of Key Accounts from Tencent Marketing Solution. And Stephen, would you say a little word about yourself?
Yes, so I'm in charge of all digital marketing activities for L'Oreal, which encompasses, of course, systems, organization, the processes that are associated to it, and also all the different marketing strategies that we put together at a central level. And we're also in charge of leveraging all the different activities and initiatives that are happening in the countries and make them known to other countries. So best practices are extremely key for us.
So exciting job.
Yes.
Kiki, how about yourself? What do
Well,
you do?
um, I'm looking after key accounts and majorly working on marketing and advertising solutions. Of course, try to help our client to evolve and transform their digital strategy from Tencent perspective.
Perfect. We have two experts today to talk about some digital efforts that will happen in the future. All right, let's look at the first question. As you know, that China has been a major player in the shaping the new digital economy in the world. However, as we all know, that China, in many aspects, a little bit different in terms of compared with the rest of the world in their digital platforms and user behaviors. And I want to get your thoughts or point of views for your point. What do you see as the major similarities and uniqueness of China compared with the rest of the world?
Right. So, whoa, it's a big topic, and it's true that for us, when we are in a central position at L'Oreal, every time we roll out a strategy, we are usually very consistent in terms of what we say for the rest of the world. But each time I'm giving a speech, I'm always saying, well, it doesn't apply for China. This is happening that way for social, but China is different. And we're always very cautious with China because there are so many differences between what's happening there and what's happening in the rest of the world. And to some extent, I love it each time I travel over to China because it feels like it's, to me, a big jump into the future. Because you guys are so advanced in terms of trends, in terms of, and the obvious one being mobile payment, which has always been there. It's been there forever in China, and it's not there yet in Europe or even in the United States. And it's really, driving such a different behavior in terms of how we consume things on a daily basis. So usually my advice is always about telling people, don't literally take what is in China and try to replicate it. We know it's going to come to Europe, but it needs to be digested because the approach and how we build websites, and it's true that now we have even changed our processes where we think about how we're going to be creating the experiences within the Chinese environments first, and then we try to see how we're going to be creating our own website after. It is really driving a different approach in terms of how we are driving our digital strategies and initiatives. And to that extent, what I always say is, yes, try to observe what's happening in China. And really on the gaming side, how you create the sites, how you create the functionalities are very different and really inspiring in terms of what we can build in Europe. But there is a translation piece that it always need to happen. And sometimes, when we bring some of our internal people over to China, they have a tendency to say, wow, I'm going to do it exactly the same way. No, it needs to be adapted, it needs to be translated, but you guys are really leading the way and showing us what is lying ahead. And to that extent, even though the consumption is becoming more global, I see really a lot of, from a technological perspective, from the benchmarking that everybody's doing in China is unbelievable, and now it's kind of rising up also in Europe and in the United States. how, you know, the time spent, mobile payment, we know all that's coming, but it's going to be slightly different. So the trends, the behaviors are there, the experiences that we're crafting around them need to be adapted for Europe. But it's unbelievable how, to me, it's like, if I had to summarize it in one sentence, it's like, to me, it's a big jump in the future and what is going to come our way in the rest of the world.
Wow, like a lot of fun.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, Stephen,
Yeah.
you know, well said. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of the things from the practical perspective
Yeah.
on the manufacturer side, and then we do believe that in China, because of the lot of the tools are different. For example, like payment penetration, and the payment penetration is pretty much, you know, on the hand of the digital players. That make a lot of differences compared with, you know, Apple Pay. That's in a different proposition. And then because of the mini programs now is you know, catching up in the past 12 months. So leveraging social traffic plus mini programs plus, you know, WeChat payment, and now give so many Chinese brand and Chinese consumers an opportunity to leverage the online to, you know, offline, online to online, and then connect the omni-channel, really, you know, have the opportunity to play together. So I guess that's, you know, I really believe that China in many the way were, you know, leading ahead of the trend. And then I do agree that apply these you know, the way of communication and digital evolution into other market, we really need to, you know, digest and looking at the local situation to make it work.
What is really something that I observe in China, you guys always inspire yourself from what's happening in the United States and pick the right functionality that you are going to be expanding in China, that will work in China. You digest it, you really take it to another dimension, another level, you spin it around, and then you serve it back to us in a different shape and form. It always goes back and forth, you know, and I'm always thinking about Tencent ecosystems have, you know, are really 360, which is really something that Facebook or Google have been trying to do in the past, but the scale and the speed at which it has occurred in China is amazing, and the execution is always state of the art. You are consumer centric by all means, and you know where there's a really huge difference. You guys are trying, you guys are changing your environment all the time.